When you hear the word Viking, you might picture burly raiders, howling warriors with axes raised. But what if I told you that some of the fiercest, most cunning, and most influential figures of the Viking Age were women? From battlefields soaked in blood to the icy shores of new worlds, these women defied the expectations of their time and ours. Let's begin with Lagertha, the shieldmaiden of legends. According to the sagas, Lagertha was taken captive by a cruel Swedish king during a conflict with Denmark. But she did not cower, she fought. And when Ragnar came to reclaim his homeland, Lagertha joined the fray, not as a victim, but as a warrior. She wore armour like a second skin, led the charge with her hair unbound. The Saxon chronicler Saxo Grammaticus wrote that she fought in the front ranks with flying hair, and a courage that rivaled the fiercest men. In one battle, it was her sudden ferocious attack that turned the tide and secured victory for Ragnar. They married, and for a time, she became the mother of his children, raising them with the same fire that burned in her heart. But Lagertha was never made to sit quietly by the hearth. When Ragnar left her to pursue another marriage, she did not fade into legend. She rose again. Years later, when her new husband threatened her rule, she killed him with a single stroke, using the spear she once carried beside Ragnar. She seized his lands, ruled with wisdom and strength, and earned the loyalty of her people. Fierce not just in battle, but in spirit, Lagertha was a force of nature, a symbol of what Viking women could be: warriors, rulers, mothers, and legends. Next contender, Thyra, the woman who saved a kingdom. In a time when kingdoms were forged through blood and steel, one woman chose stone and wisdom instead. She didn't save Denmark with a sword, she saved it with her mind. Thyra was queen consort to Gorm the Old, the first historically recognised king of Denmark. But while Gorm ruled by tradition and might, it was Thyra who saw the future and prepared for it. When the German Emperor Otto I threatened to invade from the south, most feared the worst. She ordered the construction of the Danevirke, a massive defensive wall stretching across the southern border of Jutland. This wall, built with speed and precision under her direction, became one of the largest fortifications in northern Europe. And it worked. The German forces never broke through. For centuries, the Danevirke protected the Danish heartland. Thyra wasn't just a queen, she was a strategist, a builder, a saviour of a nation. The runestones raised by her son, Harald Bluetooth, would later call her Denmark's adornment. But make no mistake, she wasn't decoration, she was Denmark's shield. While the sagas praise the warriors who took life, Thyra is remembered as the woman who preserved it, a quiet force, a builder of walls and of legacy. Moving on to Sigrid the Haughty, the queen who bowed to no man. In the world of Viking kings, power was often seized by axe and blood, but there was one woman who needed neither. She ruled with wit, pride and fire. Queen of Sweden, daughter of royalty. Sigrid was beautiful, yes, but it was her mind, not her face, that men feared. Suitors came from far and wide, kings and jarls, all hoping to win her hand. But Sigrid was not a prize to be claimed. She had her own plans. When two particularly arrogant suitors refused to take no for an answer, she invited them to a feast. She served them wine, she toasted their health, and when they fell into a drunken sleep, she had them burned alive in the hall where they lay. "Let that be a warning," she said. "I will not be forced." And the world listened. But the boldest challenge came from Olaf Tryggvason, the Christian king of Norway. He demanded she abandon her gods. She refused. He struck her. Sigrid's voice was cold and steady when she replied, "That may cost you your life." Years later, she made good on that promise. She helped engineer the alliance that crushed Olaf at the Battle of Svolder. He was dragged into the sea, never to rise again. History called her haughty. Perhaps she was. But Sigrid knew something most kings forgot. True power does not ask permission. It takes its place, and holds it. Sigrid bowed to no man, and because of that, she still stands in legend. Now let us take a moment to remember Freydis Eiríksdóttir, the savage explorer of Vinland. She was the daughter of Eric the Red, sister to Leif Erikson, but Freydis Eiríksdóttir carved her name in Viking history, not by bloodline, but by fire and fury. Around the year 1000, Freydis joined an expedition to Vinland, the mysterious land west of Greenland, what we now know as North America. Unlike her brother, who who sought trade and peace, Freydis came for wealth and legacy, but the voyage was plagued by conflict. Feuds broke out among the settlers. Trust unravelled. And when Freydis felt betrayed by her companions, she didn't wait for diplomacy. According to the saga of the Greenlanders, Freydis orchestrated a brutal ambush. Her own people, men and women, were slaughtered in their sleep. She allegedly crushed the skulls of the women herself with an axe when her men refused. But her ferocity didn't stop there. In another tale, when native warriors attacked, the Norsemen panicked and fled. Freydis, pregnant and barefoot, picked up a sword from a fallen warrior and ran screaming into the fight, ripping open her shift to bare her chest and daring the enemy to come. The attackers fled in fear. Whether fact or saga exaggeration, one truth remains. Freydis did not bend. She did not run. She stood where others fell. She returned to Greenland with a ship full of goods and a silence that hung heavy over what truly happened in Vinland. Freydis never paid for the blood spilled. History let her vanish into the mists. But her legend endured. Next, we have the legendary Gudrid Thorbjarnardóttir, the far-travelling mother. While some Viking legends are carved with swords, others are etched across oceans. Gudrid Thorbjarnardóttir's story begins not with conquest, but with courage, curiosity, and resilience. Born around the year 980 in Iceland, Gudrid was raised in a world of myths and hardship, raised by a chieftain father, and known for her intelligence and deep spirituality. Her life would span continents, cultures, and faiths. She followed her husband to Greenland, braving icy seas and an unforgiving frontier, but her boldest journey came when she joined Leif Erikson's expedition westward, to Vinland, the Norse name for parts of North America. There, amid strange forests and unfamiliar stars, Gudrid gave birth to a son, Snorri. He is believed to be the first European child born in the Americas, centuries before Columbus. But Gudrid's journey didn't end there. After returning to Iceland, she became a widow, and instead of settling into comfort, she travelled once more, this time to Rome itself, a Viking woman walking the heart of Christendom. She returned to Iceland, built a church near her farm, and lived out her days in peace. Her life was recorded in the sagas, not for bloodshed or battle cries, but for her strength, her faith, and her incredible journey across the known world. Gudrid Thorbjarnardóttir travelled farther than any other woman of her time. Explorer, mother, pilgrim, a Viking heart that never stopped seeking. Aud the Deep-Minded, the matriarch who built a legacy. Not all Viking legends wielded axes. Some ruled with vision, with faith and with iron will. Aud the Deep-Minded was one such woman, a matriarch who shaped the future of Iceland. Aud was born into a powerful Norwegian family and married Olaf the White, a Viking king who ruled parts of Ireland and Scotland. But after his death in battle, and the murder of her son Thorstein, Aud found herself surrounded by enemies in the Hebrides. Rather than surrender, Aud acted. She commissioned a ship, secretly built in the forest. With 20 followers and her surviving family, she escaped to Iceland, steering through storm and uncertainty, guided by strength and resolve. In Iceland, Aud became one of the most influential settlers. She claimed vast lands in the western fjords, distributing territory not only to her kin, but also to freed slaves. This made her one of the earliest figures in the sagas to be praised for justice and fairness. Aud was also one of the first prominent Christians in a pagan land. She held prayer services aboard her ship, and even had a cross raised on her property. Her quiet faith did not divide her from her people, it only deepened their respect for her. When she died, her followers buried her in the manner of a great chieftain. Within a ship on land she claimed herself, a final voyage for a woman who had already crossed the known world. Aud the Deep-Minded, she fled war, defied death, freed the enslaved, founded a legacy, and steered her people to a new beginning. Finally, Jórunn Skáldmær, the skald who wielded words like blades. In a world ruled by swords and sea, there was one woman whose weapon was her voice. When she spoke, kings listened. Born in 10th century Norway, Jórunn defied the roles expected of her. While other girls learned the loom, she learned the saga. While others stitched cloth, she stitched stanzas, each sharper than a blade. She earned her place in the royal court of King Harald Fairhair, Norway's first true king. There, surrounded by warlords and warriors, she stood alone, unarmed but unafraid. Her gift was memory. Her skill was verse, and her tongue could elevate a man or ruin him. Skalds were the keepers of honour. Their words outlived swords. Jórunn's verses commemorated great battles and wise rulers, but also criticised cowardice and vanity. Her words held kings accountable, immortalised valour, and shamed the unworthy. Unlike many Viking women of legend, Jórunn didn't rule lands or sail to Vinland. She ruled memory. And in the Norse world, to be remembered was everything. She ensured warriors did not vanish in silence, but lived on, verse by verse. Jórunn Skáldmær, the woman whose voice sang louder than swords. A poet, a witness, a maker of legends. There you have it. Lagertha, Thyra, Sigrid, Freydis, Gudrid, Auditorium Jórunn. Each of them carved her name into the bones of Viking history, not as background figures, but as warriors, rulers, explorers and poets. In an age of fire and frost where survival was earned and legends were forged, these women stood tall. They remind us that strength wears many faces, and some of them wear braids. If you enjoyed this journey into the forgotten heroines of the North, subscribe for more untold Viking legends every week.